Hello and welcome to The Pulse, the show where we talk about issues that concern us, the people. I'm Tina Jha. India is a land of diversity and varied cultures. As Indians, we all feel proud of our ethnicity. But knowingly or unknowingly, one thing a majority of us face difficulty in accepting is the color of our skin. For decades, we've been raised to believe that beauty is being fair. And this has given rise to a vast and ever-growing skin whitening industry. Data shows in the year 2017, the global skin lightening industry was worth $4.8 billion, and it is projected to grow to $8.9 billion by 2027, fueled, of course, by a growing middle class in the Asia-Pacific region. India, too, has a huge appetite for skin whitening products. The skin whitening market, in fact, in our country is expected to achieve an annual market revenue of $720 million by 2023, which is currently worth about $450 million. The driving force behind the booming industry is the still-rampant darker skin stigma and a rigid cultural perception that correlates lighter skin tone with beauty and personal success. So although we have several organizations and many people speaking up more and more against this colorism, yet the burden of looking a certain way hasn't quite diminished in our society. So on this edition of The Pulse, we are going to analyze why in a country like ours, where a majority of people are not white, our society is still obsessed with fair skin. What are the reasons behind this unfair obsession? And of course, the consequences of prolonged use of skin lightening products. To help us understand these aspects, we are being joined in the studio today by an eminent panel of experts. Let me introduce them to you. We have with us Anuja Agarwal. She is Associate Professor, Delhi School of Economics, Delhi University. Next to her is Shabani Chatterjee. She is former Mrs. India Universe and Elite Mrs. India. Shilpi Kohli Malik, she is Director, vivahsayog.com. And Professor Vinod Kumar Sharma, he is Head, Department of Dermatology, All India Institute of Medical Sciences. I welcome all of you on this edition of The Pulse. And besides, we also have with us some members in the audience. So today, they too will be sharing their views, their stories, also ask relevant questions on the issue from our experts. I welcome all of you on the program as well. To begin with first, and to understand how deeply ingrained this craze is about, in fact, the obsession with fair skin, let's begin today by some of the experiences which our audience members have to share. The stigma that they have faced in society, the stereotypes that they have dealt with. So let's begin the program today by listening to all of them.
My name is Parin Sharma, and I am a software engineer by education and right now an entrepreneur. So in recent days, past few days, I was looking for a match. So कुछ matches हम जो देख रहे थे, तो every match, since I am looking for a bride, so every match I see, तो everybody is asking for a fairer guy. Earlier it used to be only fairer skinned brides. And पहले हम लोग when we were growing, so we used to hear tall, dark and handsome, which I am. But somehow I am out of that elite class now, because now even the men have that pressure to look fairer, and so many ads are coming every day. And now girls are also looking for fairer men, and I don't know how that associates with beauty.
My name is Aditya Shivam, and I'm a student of IIT Delhi. And there I'm the member of the dramatics team as well. So many a times I have noticed that just because of my skin color, I'm not the obvious choice for the lead role. I don't know why it happened, but many a times I noticed. So
hi, my name is Satya. So as being Indian, we are very proud of ourselves. You know, our country is developing nation, blah, superpower, and that stuff. But still, this stigma is just held upon our heads. It's very obvious. Like in household society also, in our households, being a woman, they like to demean us. Like they try to lower our self-esteem by saying all that stuff. So this stigma is still there.
Of course, it very much is. So Anuja Agarwal, let me begin now by asking you that, you know, when we were kids, we heard this story of Snow White, and there was this very famous punchline that all of us know about: mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all. That was a story, but sadly, that's also the reality that we live in, especially in our country. Most of us Indians have never been white. The concept came like several centuries ago, and then it got so deeply rooted into us that we didn't realize when we ourselves become racist. Why are we so obsessed with fair skin?
I think we are so obsessed with fair skin because it has been the color of the ruling class in our society for a very, very long time. So whether it is the earlier non-European rulers who came in, or it is the later European classes, or whether it's the Portuguese or the British, all of them have been. So the colonial supremacy was white supremacy. And then within the country, I think there is a very close relation with the caste system, because the caste system is also kind of a color system. This Aryan, Dravidian distinction that we make, where the Aryans are supposed to be some sort of Caucasian race and white, as opposed to the Dravidian, the original inhabitants, tribals, etc., who are seen as dark-skinned. So there are multiple kind of layers to this prejudice, which has over a period of time become so solidified that it is very hard to, even for very, I think, educated people, really to think outside of it. So, we have so many examples of how this continues to be prevalent, even though it's not maybe so openly expressed at times, but in so many subtle ways, this sort of you can say obsession with the light skin of the ruling class, of the rich class also, because this association of dark skin with somebody who has to toil in the sun, as opposed to somebody who can stay indoor and remain insulated from the outcomes of working in a open space. So that kind of association it has with class, caste, race. It's a kind of a racism, you can say, which has become internalized as part of our long history.
Shrabani, the word beauty does not just identify or associate with being fair. It also has a lot to do with personal success. And obviously, we've seen how advertisement, social media has further propelled this very fact. As a very successful professional today, tell us about how your journey has been. I'm sure not as easy as one would think of.
To begin with, I want to tell you that I am made of brown sugar, chocolate, honey and cocoa. I believed in that right from my childhood. My father made me believe in it. As a child, I faced so many times, right inside our family. My father's buaji, she used to come often to our house and tell us, iski to kabhi shaadi nahi hogi. And I used to feel so happy about it that I'll be with my parents, forever. But then as I started growing up and I started having crushes in colleges, and again, Bua, Dadi used to come and she again said it, I felt really bad, I felt hurt. And I went and spoke it out with my father.
That's when you understood what it actually means.
Exactly. That time I started feeling that now I have to look fair. Suddenly this came to my mind, which never, came to my mind before. So then my father made me understand that you have to be confident in your skin, and the more you grow up, your color, your complexion is going to be a part of your beauty. Make yourself that way. Be confident in your skin. So it's not about outsiders. I faced it right inside my family. So the family pressure was also there of looking fair. But from the time that my father made me understand, I really believed in it, that I am dark and beautiful. It's not only like in India, it is beauty means fair. Yeah. So I wanted to break that barrier. And, as a child, I come from a conservative Bengali family. I was not allowed to go for a Miss India pageant. But fortunately for me, my in-laws are extremely cooperative with me. My husband allowed me. And this is what I wanted to, not to prove to myself or to anybody in this world, but I just wanted to prove to everybody that fair is beautiful, but dark is more beautiful. And I went for my pageants, and fortunately for me, I got my Mrs. India, I got my Mrs. India Universe, I got my Mrs. Heritage World East India. That boosted my confidence more and more. Of course, whenever you get a crown, your confidence level goes up 1,000 times, And it boosted my confidence level a lot. And I started getting work, घर पे बैठ के काम मिलने लगा मुझे. And I not to mention, but it's a very North Indian thing. When I came to North India, I was made to feel more that I am dark and I cannot be successful. And I was told by one of my friends, so-called friends, and as I was telling you, I really thanked her when I got my first crown. I called her up and I thanked her ki, this is why I am here. What you told me, I took it in a positive manner, and I wanted to prove it to everybody that dark is beautiful
so
and successful as well.
You took all the negativity, converted into positivity,
Yes, I
and that's
did
what
so.
reflected in
Yes,
your
I did
success.
so.
Shilpi, what I want to understand from you is that you are in one of the businesses that helps people, connect with each other, get married. What is it that you face? Obviously, the pressure is more on women to look good, and no matter how educated you are, what's required of women, the first thing is your looks, and which is equated with fairness.
See, the first factor of attraction is obviously your personality, your looks initially. No doubt, even if a person is career-wise well established, well educated, still the first factor of attraction is how you look like. And now, as I heard it in the audience, it's not gender biased at all. It's not only for girls, but it's for the boys as well. So the factor of being fair, looking beautiful, that is the preference, the foremost partner preference of both. So it's nothing of that kind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Professor Sharma, what we've been understanding from our panelists and also from some of our audience members is that the youngsters, obviously, because it's so deeply ingrained, they have been raised to believe that beautiful means to be fair. How often do you get people who actually are not very fair and they want to be fair?
I think there is a smaller group of people who are going to the private practitioners and they want to become fairer. But most of the people are going by the TV advertisement, buying their various fairness creams and applying. We only end up seeing them when they have side effect of the skin application, and actually the so-called fairness creams, they can turn you darker, and that's when they come to us, or they can produce some other problem. But somehow the market is pushing fairness products so fast and so heavily, and even some of the products which are not approved, they are being used. So we have this struggle going on with them. But coming back to your question, people are asking it very subtly to us. You come for the treatment of pimples. Then you say these pimples have left some spots. So can you remove that? But there is a smaller group of people who want to make the complexion overall fair. And there are many beauty clinics and many skin doctors also who will help you do that. They can give you something to apply as simple as sunscreen. They can give you some products which are approved internationally for improving the dark complexion. Then finally some unapproved products like intravenous glutathione injections can be given which may improve the fairness. They are not approved by our society, dermatology society, or by DCGI, drug approval from the government of India, but people are using.
Okay, maybe at AIIMS the number is very less, but
Yeah.
I'm sure at other private clinics, and the advancements that skin lightening treatments have undergone over the years just goes to prove that more and more people want to be fairer. Anuja Agarwal, I want to come back to you again to understand why the pressure is more on women to be fairer as compared to men. Obviously, there's a shift that Shilpi also pointed out, one of our audience members said, but even today, I mean, for women, the pressure to sustain, look beautiful, well-groomed all the time, and of course, it means to look fair, is more as compared to men.
See, the pressure to be beautiful, to appear good, is on women much more than men, more so in present times than in the past. So there is a very nice book by an American sociologist by the name The Beauty Myth. Naomi Wolf is the author, and who wrote that after all the other mechanisms by which women have been controlled in society have fallen aside, beauty is the last mechanism. So if nothing, you will be sidelined in society because of your looks. And this obsession with appearance, of which skin color is one, but also weight.
Yes.
We also weight shame. There is also the height. There's a whole body
shaming
body
concept,
shaming
yeah.
and body appearance, which is makes up this whole beauty complex. That is something which creates so much of anxiety and need to constantly, either consume market products. So it's very productive for the market. As Dr. Sharma also said, that there are all these products. So it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, as you also said. So every bias is converted into an opportunity by the market. Yes. We know that. And because women are now otherwise in so many ways equal of men, this becomes a mechanism by which they would still, not feel as good as men. And of course, it's true that men are also now facing these kind of things, but I think that there is always this kind of very smart thing that happens in our society where every criticism is also turned into something, so that you can't say that now it's not men. We can't say, oh, it's only women you have. So some sort of token kind of inclusion or imposition of these demands on people who are otherwise not supposed to experience them becomes a way of then, so as soon as you say, oh, why women, you will say, no, it's also men. But if you look at it statistically, men will not be facing it to that extent.
We have some young girls in the audience, and let me ask them, do you have this pressure to always look presentable, to look good when you step out of your house?
Hello everyone, I am Pooja. In India, people who are talented and who have the capabilities to do everything, they are rejected, they are ignored, and people, they judge according on the basis of their appearance only. For example, I want to become a reporter. मेरे बनने से पहले ही अगर आई स्टार्टेड सेइंग टू समबडी कि मुझे रिपोर्टर बनना है, तो वो लोग मुझे पहले ही जज करने लग जाते हैं कि तुझे टीवी में जाना है तो पहले अपना अपीयरेंस को सुधारो. मतलब स्टार्टेड यूजिंग क्रीम्स एंड ऑल कि नॉट ओनली पीपल, मेरे पेरेंट्स इटसेल्फ वो लोग खुद भी कहते हैं कि मतलब टीवी में आना है तो तुझे पहले अपने आप को तो सुधारो करके. व्हाई दिस काइंड ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन?
हेलो, आई एम श्रुति. मेरे साथ सबके घर में मौसी बुआ सब होते हैं, सब आते हैं, ये बोलते हैं, कोई बोलता है चावल का आटा, कोई बोलता है मुल्तानी मिट्टी लगाओ, गोरी हो जाओगी, गोरी हो जाओगी. मतलब आपके रिलेटिव से आपको इतना ज़्यादा प्रेशर होता है कि गोरी हो जाओ, तुम्हारी शादी नहीं होगी, ये नहीं होगा, वो नहीं होगा. ये मोस्टली रिलेटिव्स का भी बहुत प्रेशर होता है.
डेफिनेटली, एंड आई थिंक वी ऑल कैन रिलेट टू इट बिकॉज ये नेचुरल रेमेडीज जो है बचपन से फीड की जाती हैं कि हल्दी लगाओ.
Family itself.
Yes, that's right.
My name is प्रतिमा. मैंने पर्सनली तो ऐसा डिस्क्रिमिनेशन कभी पर्सनली नहीं देखा, लेकिन स्कूल में ऐसा होता था जब मुझे डांस नहीं आता था तो मैंने दूसरों को देखा था कि अगर जब टीचर सिलेक्शन करते थे तो ये होता था जो वेलकम सॉन्ग है उसमें छोटे छोटे क्यूट बच्चे होने चाहिए, तो उन्हें साइड कर लिया उस वेलकम सॉन्ग के लिए. अगर कोई राधा बन रही है तो उसके लिए बहुत सिलेक्शन होगा, उसमें एक गोरी लड़की चाहिए जो बहुत मतलब उसे डांस आए ना आए लेकिन वो दिखनी चाहिए कि वो राधा है.
Shravani, because you're the perfect person to answer, even after you became successful, obviously, I mean, when you weren't and there were people who were criticizing you, but even after you came into this profession, you proved yourself, and then was there any kind of differentiation that you felt from your peers?
Yeah, actually, it so happened that I was shooting for a calendar and with two other co-models who were like way fairer than me. But then, suddenly this somebody comes and tells ki her complexion should be at par with them. So I put my foot down. I said ki I not told this before. Had I been told this before, I would not have come for this because I want to be shown in my complexion. If you okay with it, I'm there. If not, then you can look for somebody else. So then he went back and he spoke to God knows whom, and then he came back and said it's okay. So these are things which should not come professionally, People should have this much of sense that when you are already chosen, you are chosen for whatever you are, right? So now you're coming and telling me, change your nose, change your eyes, change your complexion. So I won't, right? So I put my foot down and I've done, so many times it so happened that I went for a campaign and I saw, I was not selected because of my complexion. That was my initial days. But now मैं घर बैठे बैठे मुझे मेरे they call me and say you're a dusky beauty, we want you. So the whole scenario is changed.
That's wonderful. I mean,
and I think I've broken that barrier, and I really feel proud and honored.
So there are several factors that give you confidence to go ahead.
Absolutely.
And put your foot down. But there are several others, Shilpi, who, when they face situations like this, their self-esteem goes for a toss. I mean, their confidence is shaken if they want to do well in life. So when, you have these people coming up when they apply to your website to, for arranged marriages, have you ever dealt with girls who've been rejected because of the color of their skin?
It happens most of the time, but
Or vice versa. I mean, I shouldn't say just girl.
Vice versa, because had it been the scenario entirely, then only the fairer girls, the fairer boys would have got married. But it's not only, these are not only the criterias, because obviously the other person is looking for, you know, not only the complexion, but yes, they judge in terms of qualification, they judge in terms of profession, and they are very, very serious about it. This is the reason why in today's times, not only the parents, the boy or the girl in question, they are also coming to the forefront, and they tell me that, you know, we want to talk to the person first. Instead of, you know, even having a meeting, we want to talk to the person first, so that, you know, we can have an idea of the mindset, we can judge on phone itself, what kind of mental level do we have, you know, does our mental level matches or not. So not only the looks, I mean, they judge the entire personality, and then only do they decide to, you know, go ahead and have a meeting.
Okay, and earlier when we were talking, you said that, you know, they now don't even trust the photographs that both sides send to each other.
Because this is
They
what
want to
the
be
families tell us, that, you know, not only one photograph, because the photographs are entirely photoshopped, they are edited. So they go for at least 4-5 photographs. A decade ago, the matrimonial portfolios were very much in demand. Now they are not at all. I mean, personally, even I don't prefer that. So the randomly clicked photos, इतना भी हो जाता है कि ठीक है, photos देख ली, उसके बाद they search on social media, they search on Facebook, they search you in the in your family's profile as well, कि कहीं आपकी एक random photograph दिख जाए, to have an idea what, you know, kind of personality you have. But that is only for the people जिनके लिए शक्ल ज़्यादा important है.
So when, you know, the match gets stuck when it comes to the color of the skin, do you counsel them? Do you try to, you know, make them understand that that's not it? It's not just about the color of the skin.
Of course I do, but for the people who have it so deep rooted in the mind, it never helps.
And it's mostly from the older generation or even from the youngsters?
It's mostly from the parents' side, I guess, from the older generation.
And you have a different experience from the younger generation?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I told you already, they don't even wish to meet. They want to have a telephonic conversation.
Okay.
To have an idea what kind of, you know, mental level the other person has. तो अगर उनको वो सब ठीक लगता है, उसके बाद ही वो मिलने के लिए कहते हैं. Otherwise, इतना भी time waste नहीं करना. अपना भी नहीं, सामने वाले का भी नहीं.
Anuja Agarwal, isn't it sad that, you know, even in today's times when education, your professional setup, your confidence should matter much more to the younger generation, not the color of your skin, but even today we have these websites, we have people for whom looks will always be the priority.
See, I think I don't think we should blame the people. It's a culture. You know, our mass media, our television industry, advertisements, you know, even to some extent the whole focus upon, you know, beauty pageants, you know, so many professions like what we call display professions. So, you know, where the appearance is so important. When the whole culture promotes something, I think individuals are just a part. I'm not saying they are automatically responding. So a lot of people are not necessarily uncritical of these things, but it has an impact. When day in and day out, the message that you are getting is that being a certain way is what gets you somewhere in society. And it's true. It's not entirely a false conception. It's also true. These are the images that you see. These are the people you see. These are the people who are successful people. How do you expect people not to want to be that? It's always, you know, this is what our society has idealized, and this is what our market is promoting, right? So what I see is the difference, I think, is that somewhere people have become a little more subtle maybe about these things. So it's not always blatant in the public domains. Like about 15 years ago, there was a case where which was reported where some people had gone to meet the Air India recruitment officer, who had said that, in a sense, it was that lower caste women cannot become air hostesses because of their appearance. So it became a big controversy. But the fact that in certain professions, we expect people to be appearing good. In the marriage market, we expect. every success is associated with appearance.
Yes.
And color is a very important part of
Part of
that.
your appearance.
So I don't think we can say, it's really surprising that people want this. It's that culture, which is something that needs to change. And it doesn't change, it really does tokenism. There's this thing that you put one person there, one dark person, one something. So it becomes a way of showing inclusiveness. It's actually not real inclusiveness.
By what age do you think did you start being comfortable in your skin? I mean, obviously there was pressure from family, from society, from relatives, as you pointed out. So by what age did you actually try to, understand the magnitude of the problem and then still fight it out and be comfortable in your own skin?
I got very comfortable from the time I came to my teens,
Okay.
because I had a set of friends who never judged me for my complexion. I moved out in a society where I was never judged for my complexion ever. As far as my education, I was doing my classical dance. I was like in my dance programs also, I was never, classified that she's dark complexioned and she should be in the second row, or, I was never made to feel that way. So by the time I came to my teens, I was like really comfortable and fine. And I just wanted to, I just made sure that I'm always confident from my, I should be like confident with whatever I have, and I should be comfortable with my academics, with the little bit of knowledge that we should have. It's not about my color. I was never bothered about my color ever. And fortunately, I came, when I got married, which everybody is so scared of, ki sasural wale kya bolenge. I fortunately had a wonderful family. They never spoke about my complexion. They were always more into my qualities. Other than that, as I told you, after I, when my husband, I had this thing that I should go for a beauty pageant. And when I went there and when I won there, that boosted my confidence. But after that also, when I wanted work, I wasn't getting as much as the others. But that has changed in the last 2 years.
That's how it should be.
I
That,
mean,
you are accepted and you are celebrated because of the way you're successful, your confidence, your qualities. Dr. Sharma, obviously there are adverse effects if you keep using these creams, these skin whitening products for for a longer duration. There are adverse effects. What are the kind of consequences, if you could highlight those for us?
I'd like to make another point. When you are growing up, somebody else is going to criticize you. It may be for your complexion. That is only one part. It may be for your height, it may be for your weight, it may be for not speaking good English. It can be anything. When I was a small child, I was criticized, okay, he's so skinny, how he's going to become doctor?
Body shaming in
different way.
Different way.
Skinny.
there you have to, dissect the frogs. I don't think he can do it, where I am. So you have to learn to ignore some of the criticism. Do not internalize. You heard Shravani? She says, you have to be happy in your skin. Whatever complexion, color, height, weight you are, that is the most important aspect. So if you start doubting yourself, nobody can help you. Maintain your confidence, maintain that I am normal person. I will get all the opportunities. Most of people start withdrawing themselves from the opportunities. So please avoid that. First thing is your skin, dark color, if it is smooth and uniform, it is fine. If you get white dots in that, you are going to be very unhappy. So that is one thing happens. People apply very strong fairness creams and they can give you either darkness of the skin or white spots. Actually what happens is, people of 12 years of age or 15 years of age start applying fairness creams. By the time 5 years have gone, they are continuing to apply. There is no stopping till they get an allergy to it or some changes to it. And it is a lifelong thing, people continue to apply. And then of course from fairness cream, they start applying hair dye and they start creating other problems. The main problem is that some of the fairness creams over the counter, they contain topical steroids, corticosteroids. Something like betonate, tenovate is, less concentration, low concentration, but it is given and you are never told it contains steroids. So these cream damage your skin. They can make your skin thin, they can make your skin red, you can see the veins and blood vessels through that skin. So this can damage, and this is the damage which is very difficult to undo even when you stop the cream. So our society has filed a case against one company who is selling it. But obviously we know pharmaceutical company is a very big group. They have the finances, they got the stay for that. And they are continuing to market it. We have written to the drug controller also that such cream should not be allowed for fairness, which have skin damaging components. So this is very important. So before you pick up your fairness cream or any cosmetic for that purpose, start reading what it contains. My message will be that you should know what you are applying.
True.
Don't just put it on your skin because your friend is doing it or your family member is doing it. So it is very important. They can harm your skin. And second thing is, do not apply fairness cream that I should not become darker. Whatever complexion you are, it is fine. I was telling everyone when we were having our offhand discussion, the color of your skin is determined by color producing cells. They are known as melanocytes. The melanocytes in a total black person and on a white person, they are same in number. Evolutionary, people who were in the areas where there was lot of sun, they became darker. Their cells started producing more melanin. So melanin was important because if you have melanin, you don't get skin cancers. White people, the biggest problem is half the dermatology patients are for some skin tumors or cancers. They do not treat diseases like we do in All India Institute of Medical Sciences. They treat only skin cancers because their fair skin is not filtering ultraviolet light, it gets damaged, it is not able to repair sun damage and they get more prone to skin cancers. So enjoy your brown color, enjoy your dark color, think you need less sunscreens, you are protected from cancers. So do not worry about your complexion.
What to do, sir, when the likes of Shah Rukh Khan and several other celebrities are endorsing these fairness products and they happen to be the role models of our youngsters?
The association, we have written to Shah Rukh Khan and others who are advertising these, please stop doing that. Because we are trying, sometimes it is better to tell, he may be a big man, but sometimes big people can also do mistakes.
Exactly. Yes.
And they need to be pointed out. That, okay, please stop advertising for that, you are misguiding people.
And they are not applying it themselves.
Yeah, they're not applying it
All
themselves.
these shampoos and all beautiful ads you see, they never
endorse
use
it.
that product. They never use that product.
Okay, okay.
मेरा सवाल शिल्पी मैम से है कि मैम क्या आपके पास भी ऐसे लोग आते हैं जिनको ब्राइट कलर में ही वर वधू चाहिए?
बिल्कुल आते हैं और ज़्यादातर वो पेरेंट्स होते हैं. अब जैसे मैंने कहा, अगर आप लड़का या लड़की से पूछो तो शायद उनके दिमाग में इतना ज़्यादा अब ये नहीं रहा है. वो यही चाहते हैं कोई ऐसा हो जो फाइनेंशियली आपको सपोर्ट कर सके, पर्सनालिटी वाइज आपके साथ कंपैटिबल हो, क्वालिफिकेशन में आपके इक्वल हो, बट इट्स नॉट इन टर्म्स ऑफ कॉम्प्लेक्शंस. और रही ये बात धूप में मत जाओ, ये वैसा ही है जैसे मैंने बचपन में सुना था, मुझे चाय बहुत पसंद है तो मेरी मम्मी मुझे कहा करती थी चाय मत पियो काले हो जाओगे. सी आई हैव बीन ड्रिंकिंग टी, अभी भी मैं दिन में 2 बार पीती हूँ, नहीं काली हुई. दैट्स नथिंग ऑफ दैट. और ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं है, मेरे बहुत सारे ऐसे फ्रेंड्स हैं, ठीक है, जिनका कॉम्प्लेक्शन मेरे जैसा नहीं है या मुझसे बहुत अलग है, बट वो शायद मुझसे करियर में बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा एस्टैब्लिश्ड हैं एंड आई एडमायर देम.
आई एम हरिओम फ्रॉम IIT Delhi. I want to ask, ma'am, so generally in India, many people judge other people on the basis of what are you look. So how to change their mindset?
That's of course the biggest challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, see, mindset would change only over a long period of time. So there is, like this program, I believe, is one of the ways, it's small ways in which people attempt to make a change. But, a lot of things have to change. And because there is see, one thing is how do you explain something and then what should people do? So one thing is like young people like you should become more reflective about the fact that this is not the thing to value. Skin color should not decide the value of a person. So education, other values, it's positive to learn that people like Shravanti are able to, are so successful, even though other people might think why, that she's not the ideal beauty. The fact that young people are not looking for these things. So there is change.
Yes.
There is change. I don't think there is the thing is as bleak. But change doesn't, it's not something to which any fix can be done. We can't say, okay, this will happen and things will change. There are very long historical roots to these kind of biases in our society. Becoming aware of that makes also a difference.
हमारे बॉलीवुड में बहुत सारे ऐसे गाने बने हैं जैसे चितिया कलाइया और गोरे गोरे मुखड़े पे काला काला चश्मा, ये बहुत सारी चीज़ें हमने देख रखी हैं बहुत पहले से. बट मुझे लगता है कि इसकी जो रूट है वो और भी नीचे है. जैसे कि जो कलर होता है, हमने हमेशा काले रंग को डर से और गलत चीज़ से, नेगेटिव चीज़ों से एसोसिएट किया है, और सफ़ेद रंग को हमेशा अच्छाई से. ऐसा भी सुना, हम लोगों ने सुना है कि बुराई का अंधेरा छटेगा, अच्छाई का उजाला आएगा. तो हाँ, अंधेरा कायम रहे तमराज के लिए एंड ऑल. तो क्या ये भी चीज़ों का कोई इम्पैक्ट पड़ा है हमारी सोसाइटी में कि वहाँ देखो अंधेरा है, वहाँ मत जाओ, वो काला है, और जितने भी विलन्स होते हैं वो सब हमेशा ब्लैक में दिखाए जाते हैं. तो इनका भी कुछ इम्पैक्ट है क्या?
मीडिया और एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री का तो बहुत बड़ा रोल है.
Why don't we look at Krishan ji?
That's true.
Why don't
That's
we look at
exactly.
him? Why do we have to look at all the other things?
You know, the thing is, even you're very right. What you're saying is perfectly true. That this kind of dichotomy is introduced at every level, and therefore it becomes so deep-seated. So Krishan ji is supposed to be dark, but when he is represented, he'll be shown as blue. So you actually, even the deities who are supposed to have been dark are not shown as dark.
Yes.
So our iconography, which goes to largely to British times, we have made everybody fairer than they probably ever were. So this obsession with the white color, and then like now we are questioning all these songs. When we hear them, we don't seem to see anything wrong with them because it's become normal to accept these things as a right.
Shravani, obviously, as he said,
दूसरा ये है कि बॉलीवुड वालों को ज़्यादा सीरियसली मत लें. And they are your entertainer. Get entertained and forget about them.
but obviously, sir, they play a major role in
I know
this,
they are
this,
role models, more role model than
they play a major
many
role
other important
in our
people.
lives, obviously, because not just entertainment, they obviously influence us in a lot of ways. The way we dress up, the way we look, the way we act. That, as he said, Shravani, obviously, media entertainment has a lot of influence on youngsters, as I said. What is the pressure on youngsters? Because you sustain through it, several others won't be able to do it.
Absolutely.
They will actually succumb to the pressure of looking fairer.
See, let's just accept that this pressure of looking good is everywhere. It's not only about the glam industry.
It's actually not bad. The desire to look good is not bad. It should just not be equated to the color
but
of
you
your
know
skin.
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. कि अपने आप को presentable रखना is an art.
Definitely.
It's an art. Okay. So, but then it should not always be, evaluated with being fair. If you are not fair, if you are dark, you can be beautiful as well.
Definitely.
You have so many other qualities to you. Why don't people look into the inner beauty?
They don't need to be fair to be lovely. That's the whole.
Which is more important. Which is most important. In fact, आपकी जब शादी होगी, when you get married, that's just a single day where you can look good and you are put on a whole lot of makeup and lashes and lenses, and you sit like a bride and you look good. And the very next day, if you start behaving in a very weird manner with your people around, that's not good. So that is what I'm trying to say. Ki we should be people should be more conscious about what our inner self looks and we should be more concerned about the inner self than the outer beauty. And beauty is definitely not being fair. Here I am, I sit right in front of you, but I want to just ask a few questions out there. The boys out there, would you marry a girl who is not at par with the color thing? Would you do that?
I would prefer darker color.
Okay. So that is what, when you ask ma'am this question, the change should come from you.
Yes, definitely.
So यहाँ बैठ के हम बहुत बड़ी बातें करते हैं, but then when it comes to actually on us, then you prefer a fair bride.
You have to be the change that you want to see in society, to bring the because it's we who are forming the society, right?
So that's very important. Previous generations को छोड़ दो आप. Let them be with their set of mind, but then you can bring a change. Like you can say, no, I'm okay with a dark complexion girl, but she has to have something there.
Okay, yeah.
I have this question, like ma'am said that this has come from colonial mindset, and the colonial masters came and they had this problem. So I want to ask that you often use the word culture or casteism and all those stuff. Since you started it with that it is imported in a way, and since it is imported, so it is easy to drop it off because we have our deities in dark colors, and if you go to south, then even Ganpati is Vinayagar, and Vinayagar is dark only. So and deities, the system of deities is how you see divinity. So I'm a spiritual guy as well. So and in spirituality, it is, the idea is antarmukhi sada sukhi. So the idea or the preference is to go inside rather than to look outside. So do you think we should go back to our cultural roots where the dark complexion is respected?
I don't mean to say that this is only a colonial hangover, because this is something which has come together in a, you can say, very cozy relationship with the caste system, which also has a color aspect to it. So it's not always only in terms of the white supremacy complex that we are looking at it. The association of fairness with upper castes and darkness with lower caste is also something which we can't say is not our culture. It's really, so there is it would be good, of course, to then resort to these other kind of symbols that you're talking about, which turn the story upside down. So there are, in every culture, there are some resources which are not the dominant resources, which would help you to tell a different story. And it's a very good strategy. Where I don't fully agree with you is to say that our culture is totally immune from these kind of practices. Our culture is also one which looks down on manual labor, for instance. So anybody who's in a laboring class, we would treat as, so somebody with a dark skin is seen as somebody who's also a laboring person. So that's something very deep in our culture also, that we don't value the laboring people. So there are a lot of things in our culture which would not help this. There are a lot of things in our culture which can be a resource to question something like this.
मैम, जैसे अभी बात हो रही है कि आप इन सब चीज़ों को ख़त्म कैसे करेंगे, या चली आ रही है बहुत पुरानी, तो ये ख़त्म करने के लिए जिस तरीके से बढ़ी है आज मॉडर्न टाइम में, ये रैपिड कमर्शलाइजेशन की वजह से बढ़ी है. ये जो अपॉर्चुनिस्ट और पैरासिटिक बिहेवियर है, ये बिग फार्मा का हो गया और स्किन वाइटनिंग इंडस्ट्री का, ये इनकी वजह से हुआ है. जब तक हम इन्हें काउंटर नहीं करेंगे, जब तक नहीं हो पाएगा. और उसके लिए ज़रिया भी यही है, रैपिड कमर्शलाइजेशन उन चीज़ों का जो इन सब चीज़ों को डिसोन करते हैं, उन्हें आगे बढ़ाते हैं, उनको आगे लाना पड़ेगा, टेलीविजन पे बात करना पड़ेगा.
Advertising Council has laid certain restrictions on promotion of certain kind of products. So these are positive kind of things. Like Dr. Sharma is also saying, products which are clearly harmful, harmful. So I think it isn't really, everybody is not about the individual. There is something in the larger culture, and there are certain kind of practices which can, I'm not for banning or anything, but certain kind of restraints, certain kind of, so the fact that blatantly harmful things are allowed, which are not probably allowed in other parts of the world.
So for example, I mean, before
that has
using,
to be constrained.
Before using, you exactly know what kind of consequences it's going to have on your skin.
Again, it can't be that you have to decide. Most people are not educated or literate enough. Yes. But if there is something blatantly harmful, it should not be available in the market in the first place. Similarly, constraints on the advertising, norms of advertising. There is a censor board. There are so many restraints we exercise on what we should show, what we should not show. And this is something which has apparently already been done. But this is what happens. Then things turn to being euphemisms. So instead of talking about fair, you say brighter skin, or you start using other ways of talking about the thing. And that's more dangerous because it sort of is disguised as politically correct. Whereas actually it's still promoting the same thing.
True.
I might like to say here, there is a drug act. When you want to market a medicine, everything has to be proven that it is safe. Then there is a cosmetics. In cosmetics, you don't have to display what are the contents. In Europe and USA and UK, you will display, but in India, you will not. So our government needs to change the rules. Even what rules they have, they find difficult to implement them because there is a central drug approval committee and there is a state approval committee. And some people who cannot get it from Delhi, they go to a small state and get it approved from there. And it is very difficult for them to go against that government, it becomes political.
Right.
So we are in that committees where we approve the new drugs, but then cosmetics are automatically marketed.
Obviously.
No approval is required.
There are steps that are being taken.
So for these fairness creams, there is no approval. And half the pharmaceutical people who used to come to us, they have slowly moved into, because of all this fairness and other moisturizers and sunscreen, they have approval as cosmetics. They don't want to go through the hard approval process for drug.
Okay, very quickly, anybody else? I'll take 1, 2 very quick.
So being a psychology student, like when I encounter these adolescents and teens, they usually complain like, you know, these subtle things, although it might look subtle, but they are not. So the thing is, like, we have to educate them. As they say, change start from ourselves. So we have to educate the teens, the kids. Why only we have to teach them only Snow White was beautiful? No, she was not only beautiful. Like, we have to inculcate these little things. अगर अभी से नहीं किया तो बाद में जाके क्या पता उनका भी mindset ऐसा ही हो. So these little things should also be noted down.
That's right. Yeah.
जैसे कि हम लोग बात करेंगे, अगर हम सोसाइटी में कोई चेंज लाना चाहते हैं तो उसके लिए सबसे पहले हमें चेंज होना पड़ेगा. तो अगर हमें कोई काला कहते तो उस चीज़ को इतना नेगेटिव क्यों लेना? काले तो APJ अब्दुल कलाम भी थे, उन्हें देखो, उस चीज़ को पॉजिटिवली लो और फिर प्रूव करो कि काले से कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता, मैं जो हूँ वो मैं हूँ.
Definitely. Okay. So, Anuja Agarwal, I would like to take one concluding remark from you that, obviously it's a huge challenge, but as they have said, the change is visible if the youngsters are aware. So, awareness is one thing that of course, is the solution to this problem. But as we've spoken, during the course of our program, that it's deeply ingrained. Sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly, we also fall prey to this colorism. So how to get rid of that, especially for our coming generations? How to make them understand that it's all about your qualities and not about just the color of your skin?
Yeah, so any change is a two-sided process. So certainly it starts from you, but I also strongly believe that certain things have to be done at a larger level. So the people who are the models for society, who regulate society, who make the rules, also have to take their role very seriously. So whether it's the those who regulate the pharmaceutical industry or the cosmetic industry, or those who make the films which become models for youngsters, I think there is as much responsibility on their side to be doing their bit to bring about a change, rather than being the ones to be promoting it.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And everybody else, it's never a one-way change, as Anuja Agarwal pointed out. All of us must, do our bit as citizens, because in the end, it's we who, form this society. So in the end, I would just like to add that, as we've discussed over the past 1 hour, the dismantling cultural stereotypes certainly takes years, as Anuja Agarwal pointed out earlier in the program. And to shun this concept of colorism, which is of course deeply ingrained in our psyche, is a huge challenge. But it's important for all of us, especially the younger generation, to celebrate the diverse ethnicity of our country. In fact, that's what is the beauty of India. We should be identified by our thoughts and actions and not by the skin color. So with that, I'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of The Pulse. Thank you to all my guests for joining us on the show and sharing their thoughts with us on the subject. Thank you to our audience members as well. It's difficult to share your stories, especially, those that are perceived to be your weaknesses. But thank you for honestly speaking about those issues and joining us on the program. So that's it from us in this edition of The Pulse. But before I wrap up, let me also remind you that in case you missed the television broadcast of our program, you can also watch it online on YouTube and Twitter. And you can also send in your feedback and suggestions about the show. Thank you very much for your time.